we act through both of those. So, you know, with your belief, a lot of it is hope. It comes from hope. Like, you know, the fitrah is accessed through hope. You know, I hope that this is true.
I would say it's not the hope that is true, it's that I believe it to be true for intellectual reasons, and the hope is on the unknown.
Okay, but what do you think comes before? Do you think the intellectual reasons, or is it the hope that comes before?
I think it's intellectual reasons. The reason why is because you could construct any worldview if you were just to start with hope. For example, I would love the idea that there's no hellfire. I would love the idea that in this life there's no restriction on yourself.
Yes.
Right? Islam, however, gives you things which are against human desire.
Yeah.
So it can't be hope. And the other thing to keep in mind is that sometimes there's things that we hope for, but they're not good for us.
True.
Like one of the teachings in the Quran is that perhaps you love something but it's bad for you, and you hate something but it's good for you.
Yeah.
Right? And many of us in our lives, we don't like struggle. Like, I'll give you a small example. Did you ever play video games?
Yes.
Okay. Imagine, Alex, you're playing a video game, but there's no level of difficulty, there's no enemies, there's no obstacles, you can run around in a world, but there's nothing to do to overcome. Would you enjoy that game? No, you wouldn't. So in life as well, we don't like barriers and problems and challenges, but that's what gives it life.
But exactly, that's what I completely agree with you. That's like do you know this philosopher Schopenhauer? So his idea is that suffering is itself, it's a good thing. So that good and evil are actually flipped over. So good is suffering because we feel it. So when everything is going well, we don't feel that everything is going well. But we do feel the small pinch in our foot. So actually, that's what's good, and evil is what's not good. Evil is the opposite. So I completely agree. But I think that, going back to your point,
so just a bit on Schopenhauer.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate on his theological beliefs? Because my understanding was that he was an atheist and a nihilist.
Yes, he was.
So isn't
but
that
he believes, like, he likes the Indian religion.
Right.
He likes the Brahman.
Right.
Because he believed, because in Hinduism, it's the belief that the world was created by accident, and for that reason, everyone is suffering. And he believed that basically our world is a penal colony. So me and you here are placed on this world to suffer, and we experience life through suffering.
Isn't it better? I'm not talking about the truth value here. We can talk about truth value later. If we were to look at his belief, and we were to look at, say, the Islamic belief, which says that suffering is something which has meaning behind it.
Yes.
That helps suffering.
Yes.
But in Schopenhauer's view, there is no meaning, there is no reason, there is no rhyme.
There is an individual meaning. Because he actually says that there is suffering, it gains the meaning. Like this is exactly what we spoke about before, the individual value of the fitrah.
Right.
So that individually it has a value. So while your belief in the fitrah is that it's objectively it gains its value, Schopenhauer would argue that the value is derived from its individual, from the impact on the individual, because it's through suffering.
Sure. So let me just give a small example, and maybe you can elaborate on this, because you sound like you're well read in Schopenhauer. I don't know his views in deep when it comes to suffering.
Yeah.
I'm aware of some of his nihilistic ideas, but say Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, that very famous book, right? He's talking about the concentration camps. He's talking about how people who found meaning could bear pressure more than people who didn't believe in meaning.
Yes.
So with Schopenhauer, the meaning would be nothing more than a coping mechanism which has no intrinsic value.
For him, it's not a coping mechanism, it's a way to live. We suffer, otherwise we will commit suicide. That's what he says. Because imagine that if you don't suffer, imagine that you live in a world that's put all of your needs, all of your wants, on everything, intellectually, physically, all of them are met. How would you live yourself? Imagine like this world, if you're in a world where you have no problems.
It's like the video game example. It's absolute boring.
Yes, it's boring, and he argues that you'll commit suicide.
No, I understand that, but what I'm trying to get to is that what Viktor Frankl is saying is you need meaning. You need meaning.
Yes.
But it seems Schopenhauer, and again, I'm not well read on him, but what I understand from him is there is no true meaning except the meaning we want to give.
There is no objective meaning, but there is a subjective meaning.
Okay.
Because he makes the example with suffering. He talks about the foot. So he's talking about the human body. So he's talking about the applicability of these ideas to an individual.
Right.
So it's actually, it's within us that the meaning is found. So we need to derive the meaning from the suffering. He basically says that how could there be so much suffering in the world for it to have no meaning? How could there be so much death, destruction, this, for it to have no meaning to us?
Isn't that an argument against his point? Because
no, because it's only an argument against his point if you assume that if you add the God element in.
But that's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, and I'm saying that it's a different argument in the sense that it's individual meaning. So, like Nietzsche, you know, the idea that man is on a tightrope between an Untermensch, a lower man, and a higher man, and that is within the man. So man needs to overcome himself. That's where the meaning is found, and that's what I strive to do. That's why we discuss this idea.
But again, the issue I have with that, I'm not talking about an ontological reality to meaning right now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the pragmatic element. Say there's somebody who has lost their child.
Yes.
The child died, got lost, kidnapped, whatever. One person can say, well, there is an objective meaning I believe in, and that's one coping mechanism. Another person says, I'm going to give myself the meaning that I could never raise the child well, and it could have been raised by someone else better. They just make up some subjective one. It's not really going to give them much.
Of course, but the thing is, a child is already external meaning. Family, for example, having a family is already. It's not just like you can have internal meaning and external meaning. But when you have a family, that's you're deriving meaning from what comes outside.
Right.
It's not come from that which comes within. So, for example, if a child had died, that external meaning is harmed and it's a powerful one because it's a family. It comes from you.
I would say that's a false dichotomy. I would say, why would we need to make a neat separation between ourselves and others when it comes to meaning?
Because meaning itself, meaning is multifaceted. I think meaning is internal and external.
Right.
So for me, external meaning is people like friends, family. It's what because it benefits the internal.
Alex, why would you call that external though? That's
because it's from without. It's from without. It's outside of you.
No, it's outside of you from a spatial, temporal perspective.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean it's outside of you from a meaning perspective.
But it gains its meaning according to you. It gains its meaning according to your interaction with it. I'm saying if you make your own internal, something that's not contingent on any person around you, that's contingent on yourself, and only yourself.
So let me put it another way. I don't think it's possible to do that.
Okay, and I would argue otherwise.
Good.
And I would argue that, for me, purpose is meaning. Understanding what your purpose is. So what is your purpose? Is it to live a good life? Is it to do something in life? It's something there, and that's what that for me, internal meaning is purpose.
Okay, so here's where I would agree, but for you that would not be objective. That would be something subjective.
Yes.
For me, the objective one would be that God has created us to worship Him alone.
Yes.
And worship is very broad. Even thinking good about God is worship. Giving charity, smiling, many things can be. But when you give it to yourself subjectively, I don't believe you'll ever actually believe in it.
That's where we'll have to disagree. But I think that it all goes back, which I really like the idea of the fitra, because I think it's a very good way because it's what you direct your fitra towards. So you direct your fitra towards God, I'll direct that to myself. I'll look for within. I'm like, I pick up a book and I think about what am I going to learn from this book?
But
how is it going to benefit me? How is it going to help me in my purpose of becoming a philosopher, of doing philosophy?
But I would challenge that, and I would say that you're engaging in self-deception. So you're trying to convince yourself that this purpose that I've chosen for myself, learning from a book, being a philosopher that can help people deal with psychological problems, whatever it is, that in of itself, you will never be able to fully convince yourself of that because you just gave yourself that meaning.
But that's the whole battle. And it's
I would say it doesn't need to be a battle if we believe in the revelation from God.
Exactly, but I thrive in the battle. I like it for it to be, because I can never truly achieve it, and that's why I'll be fighting for it every day. But I need to be fighting, otherwise I'll be fundamentally bored.
But don't you think it's a fight you can never win?
it's a fight that's gained by the fight itself. It's not gained by the victory or it's within the process that you find the meaning. So you yourself, you can never really truly be satisfied with it. But the point is not to truly be satisfied, it's to truly know that you're doing this. And it's fulfilling you in a way that although you've not found the set thing that's made you happy, but it's the process itself.
But couldn't you be going in the completely wrong direction all your life like that?
No, because I deem my life to be good on objective standards and on subjective.
Okay, so for example, take something like the belief in God alone, right? That believing that, like people believe in karma, or they believe in stars, or they believe in charms, or these things, but the belief that there's ultimately one reality that controls everything. We believe that belief intrinsically is the highest moral good.
Yes.
We call it Tawheed. It's the highest moral good.
What do you call it?
Tawheed. Tawheed. And we believe the fitrah shoots up in that direction to take you there. You could spend your entire life under your philosophy never coming to that higher moral good of Tawheed.
But I would argue the higher moral good is found within the search. It's within the search. So
but objectively, God says in the Quran that that's the highest.
Yes, of course. And then you have to add belief in the unseen to believe in that. You have to add that idea within it to come to that conclusion. But I would say that the fitrah should be found within. It should be a search, and I've not reached it yet. I'm still young. I'm still not where I want to be. But I'm fundamentally satisfied in this path of searching. And it doesn't matter if it's sometimes I come across obstacles, I come across problems with this. But it is that battle. It's that internal battle to become a better person, to become a better man. And I deem that to be within this.
No, I understand your point, but this is, I think, the point at which we're going to part ways and disagree philosophically. Yeah. I don't see myself holding on to that perspective because I don't think I'll ever be intellectually fulfilled with one.
You don't think so? Why is that?
Because ultimately, I don't have an authority above me giving me an objective standard. I'm making my own standards.
True, but you're also educating yourself.
I don't have a problem with that.
You're also improving your own. You're elevating yourself.
No, but I can objectively improve myself and educate myself under the philosophy of Tawheed, under the idea ultimately that there's one reality which controls everything. I can try and be a better person. I can take, for example, the Quran talks about the steep path, doing the difficult things.
Yes.
I can do all those things, so I can get the benefits of what you're saying. But under the larger Islamic paradigm, under your paradigm, it feels like swimming in an ocean without a direction.
The direction ultimately is to become a better man. Ultimately, it's to become, and by swimming, you're becoming stronger.
But to be better, you need an understanding of where you are and where you're going. But you can't have that subjectively.
You have it subjectively, but it's within the objective realm with which you see it. So, for example, for me, that would be to have a podcast, launch my podcast, to do this, to do that. That's an objective standard of my success.
So, I don't agree with that, but since you mentioned the podcast, we discussed this previously.
Yes.
We'll do that, inshallah, because I think inshallah means God willing.
Of course.
Or you know some Arabic words. You said to me once Juma Mubarak on Instagram. It's quite interesting. So on the podcast, we can have these type of deeper discussions because in the park sometimes bringing up references and discussing certain nuanced points gets a bit difficult. But I do like the fact that you're very open and very cordial and very willing to have these discussions.
Of course, you too.
It's very important. It's very nice.
Very lovely speaking with you. But
and next time Scrabble is down, let me know.
Yes, let me know. We can go for a coffee, for a tea, whenever you're free.
Yeah.
Let me know. We can discuss. And so I've actually launched the podcast.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. So I've launched. I did one on What's the Happy Life.
Okay.
Now I've recorded another one on What's Human Nature, and then a third one we can do together.
I was going to invite you to mine.
Yes. Yeah. Come along. Yeah. Let me text me on Instagram.
And Scrabble as well. We can.
Yes. All three of us. Yes.
Great speaking. Thank you.
IslamNet is establishing the first of its kind mega mosque. Think about that. And Dawah Center in Norway. If you donate to support this cause on behalf of your parents, Allah will inshallah build a home for them in Jannah. Because the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Whoever builds a mosque for Allah, Allah will build a house for him in Jannah. So you can, inshallah, help your parents earn the eternal home in paradise right now by clicking the link below.